kinds of things because sometimes they attract the goofy, the gullible, and the greedy. Now, some of the leadership, I'm definitely not, on board with anything that's going on with IM Academy. I won't mention them specifically, but some of the promoters themselves, I'd run away. Like, I'd run away. I've never jumped into the product and the compensation plan and all the other things, because most of the times, even if they were okay, the opportunity would be screwed up by the people that are in and the people that are talking about it, so I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. So that's my thing about IM Academy. Whether it's a good company or a bad company, I don't know. But the reality is that the promoters and the people that I know that I've seen the videos on, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. So, again, it could be the best product in the world with the best compliance and the best everything. It's the distributors that are going to screw it up, and I bet you with IM Academy, they've done a pretty good job. Now,
a pretty good job screwing it up, right?
Screwed it up. Yeah, screwed it up.
Yeah.
Screwed it up.
Yeah,
now,
I just want to be clear.
Could Marco and other YouTubers serve a purpose by kind of explaining what I just said and showing examples of what I just said? Absolutely. Absolutely. Did Marco need to take it as far as he did by basically going to try to destroy a woman's business or maybe even get her terminated by doing this infiltration videos? I've never really liked infiltration videos on probably really good people that might be involved even in a scam, but to expose them and damage their lives moving forward, I don't think is a good thing. But those are my personal opinions, and those don't really matter that much in the worldly view. But I just don't like them because I think they're like gotchas. So like the gal who was interviewing him, she was probably, interviewing him, and he had this, fake, image camera or hidden camera. I think that kind of gotcha stuff really stinks. And David may have fallen off. Hold on one second.
Okay.
David fell off.
No,
I think,
Peter,
David, you're back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the
so
call dropped, but I called right back. I've been hearing you guys the whole time. I caught it all.
Okay, good. So I don't like that gotcha kind of video because it really is damaging on people. I'll use another example. On Behind MLM, there was just something about GS Partners getting another slam, and GS Partners probably deserved it. But there's this young new distributor who did a meeting in a library in Florida, and one of the investigators came in, and they caught this guy doing a meeting in Florida. Nobody showed up except for the investigators and himself, and he did something. So it was kind of embarrassingly rookie, if you will. Now this guy's got his name plastered all over Behind MLM, and like you had mentioned a little bit earlier, you might have made some rookie mistakes a little bit earlier on in your career. Do you need them blasted all over the place? You made a rookie mistake. You might have even been deceived, and that's how you made your rookie mistake. I don't like those gotcha videos because I think it's unfair and can be taken out of context, and I think the person who is then the victim of that infiltration video can really be damaged.
Yeah. Curly, one thing that you mentioned, you were talking about the woman. Were you referencing the Primerica video that he did where he went in with that interview with the woman during the Primerica video?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Absolutely.
Gotcha, okay, yeah, because we were talking about IM Academy, but then I figured that's, because I'm pretty sure on the IM video, it was pretty much all just video interviews and stuff like that.
I'm a little bit different than Peter there. I don't mind the gotcha videos. If you're breaking the rules and you're captured on video breaking the rules, then you should be exposed. That's my opinion. So Peter and I differ on that a little bit. I mean, I understand where he's coming from, but in this day and age, you should be aware that when you're doing something like that, there could be consequences. Whereas when Peter and I were young, the technology didn't exist, and so you could do that pretty much safely, right? You knew you weren't being recorded because recorders were, the size of a lunchbox. But now, you can put a video camera in a pen, and that's what Marco and other people do. And so you should be aware of technology and understand what you're doing and saying in this day and age.
Yeah, but Scott, let's go back to the Amway thing. If you're selling this whole transfer buy thing, which is the way mostly people are being pitched this Amway thing, no sales, just transfer buy, and that's what your culture is, and that's what everybody around you is, and then you're somewhat successful doing whatever this culture is, and then all of a sudden somebody picks up a video camera and then videos you basically regurgitating everything that you were told by your trusting upline. That's kind of like that person themselves is a victim as well. A lot of the problems with MLM is most people don't know what if we had a man on the street kind of a thing where we went and we asked most people that were in MLM, what's a pyramid? What's a Ponzi? I would be comfortable with that 99.7% getting it mostly wrong. Like, they would probably get it mostly wrong. This is an industry where most people really don't understand this industry because they don't research this industry. They do what they're told by their upline or their upline leadership. So in those instances, catching that gal on camera, she's just basically been doing what she's been told that was legal and right, and she built a whole business that way for X amount of years. And then to say that she's a crook or somebody doing something wrong, I think is a little bit harsh. So if somebody wants to timestamp, Scott and I may be having a disagreement. There's one of the examples where we might change our definitions of like when I think an infiltration video is going to be good or bad.
Sure. Yeah, I would say in that case that it really wasn't the woman that was being exposed; it was her upline, and that's where the accountability should go. It shouldn't just stop with her, because what you mentioned earlier in this program, Peter, was almost exactly the quote from my upline. Buy from yourself and teach others to do the same. That's what they taught over and over and over again. And so they were basically saying everything's internal consumption. Don't worry about selling. It's okay. And so if I had been caught saying that kind of thing, then the expectation should have been, well, who told you to say that? Well, my upline. And so that's the accountability, because I agree with you, Peter. Most people that are in MLM do not understand what an illegal pyramid is. They have no idea what they're doing because they're just following what their upline is telling them to do. But the accountability is with the upline, not with the person that said it.
Right. And then by showing her specifically, that damages the individual who thought she was doing the right thing. Like, there was nothing scammy about that woman. That when I watched that video the first time, and I only watched it once just to go through it, when I watched it, I'm like, this woman she's just doing what she's been told. She built a business and running an operation based on what she's been told. She sells products to retail customers. When she recruits people, she's telling people what she's been told. And now she's being basically featured on a video. The Primerica people are going to have no choice other than fire her. People around her neighborhood or around her business model or look up her name if it ever gets out is going to be seeing that, and that's a little bit harsh. So I'm a softie when it comes to that sort of thing, because I consider her a victim as well. Even though she might have been doing something quote-unquote illegal based on the FTC's definition, she's doing exactly what she's been told.
But if the company was responsible, they would go after her upline. They would not just get rid of her. But that is what most MLMs do. They say, oh, this is a loose cannon, this is an exception, we got rid of her, and everything's fine now. And so that accountability at the company level is not present, because the company knows very well that's what she was taught. And just to get rid of her and let it stop at that, that's wrong. And that's what we need to be talking about. In the grand scheme of things, no one's going to remember her in a year. Narcos video was taken down. There's been some others that have put it back up, but the viewership is so low. It's probably in the hundreds of total views, and most of these are just looky-loos. They're not employers or anybody who's responsible. They're just people that like to chase rumors and drama and that kind of thing. It's not anyone that really counts as far as, her life.
Sure.
And so, and I would, if I was her, I would say that's what I was taught. I would go on YouTube myself and say, look, the company got rid of me, but that's what my upline taught. And here's my upline's names. All right. That's what I would do, to counter that.
Can I add something to this real quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, just to give my take on it. So, you don't like the gotcha so much. Scott likes it. I'm in the camp of I like it. So I think that in today's day and age, you can very quickly go viral by doing the wrong thing and make a bunch of money, but you can also very quickly get exposed and drop down because you get exposed for doing the wrong thing. Now, going on to the extension of that, which you're talking about, Peter, that you don't like that woman possibly, people might find out who she is and she might get defamed where she lives or get fired or whatever else. And then Scott, you're right. On your side, it's the upline that should be hit. And if you watch that video, Marco spends most of his time talking about that young prodigy guy who now owns all these houses, because Marco even says himself, he says, look, I understand that most of the people at the bottom don't know what they're doing. They don't understand that it's a scam. They just believe a friend, right? The only thing they have a flaw for themselves is that they believed a friend. And and a good example of that would be in the I Am Academy video. There was that African American gentleman, Fidel, that in the first episode he exposes him. It starts out with him, the clip of, oh yeah, your grandma dying might have been a blessing in disguise, and that's a really effed up thing to say. But then later, he says, look, I understand that he doesn't actually know what he's saying, and now they're best friends. So I think that Marco, if you guys want to give him any piece of credit, he has tried very hard to make sure that the focus is on the people at the top, because if you're at the top of an unstable recruit system, you cannot deny it to yourself. That's how you're making money. You can't deny it. So anyway, I just wanted to say that before we run out of time as far as the subject of gotcha videos and who should be pinned in said videos.
Yeah, take a look at this gal. If I remember the gal, she went there. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I just want to make the quick comment that most people that are in MLMs do not understand that they're supposed to have retail sales. They don't know it. They're unaware of it. Now the company knows it. The upline knows it, but it's not being taught. And so it's being repeated, recruit. But the accountability is at the top, not at the person at the bottom that's only doing what they're being taught to do. Sorry about that, Peter. Go right ahead.
No. And the biggest thing about the gotcha videos, it's more of a personal basis, I think. That gal from the Primerica video, I think, didn't she meet this guy on a Sunday, spend some special time with just him, answer all his questions? Sure, she did a presentation for him. I don't think she was desperate for him as a new recruit. I think she's probably still in business with or without that one new person. So, he really takes advantage of people's kindness, even though, of course, it's their business as well. But, she did, David, just like I did with you. You called me up, had some questions. There may or may not be I'm not asking there's a financial return on our conversation, but she knows that not everybody's going to join. So she shows up on a Sunday. She gives this guy his time. She buys his story about being sick or whatever other bullshit. He's good because he's a con man. And I just see him taking advantage of that situation. And he probably could have found somebody else to be the victim of his Primerica video. But that's, again, my opinion.
I can respect that criticism. I can respect that criticism. I'll say that. I think, it sounds to me like maybe it's the moral of it, that you're, maybe it's okay to do a gotcha video, but don't pick on this lady who just is trying to do her job. Would that be a fair assessment?
Come on, she's doing her job. She's got a career that she's been working on. She does a lot of good things, I'm sure. She's not a horrible person. You can tell that by the way she treated him, and he just basically threw her under the bus.
I would say I would have preferred that he went. I would say I would have preferred him to go after a high-level distributor, not a low-level distributor.
Yeah. Okay, so you got a couple of minutes. Is there anything else you want to? First of all, I appreciate you having this conversation with us, because I think this is a constructive conversation. Yeah,
no, I've had a really good time. I can't believe it's already been 90 minutes. Hope that maybe in the future, if there's an opportunity that we could maybe continue, there's a few other things that I really did want to talk about that we were not able to get to today. But yeah, I mean, it's been great. I think that, I think the big thing that sticks out to me, and maybe is, if we could tease it today and maybe later, if the time allows, we could have a conversation about it, is kind of, it's like, okay, this example, Primerica, IM Academy, Amway. I mean, we've only covered 3 of the hundreds, right? But the overall sentiment seems to be that if recruiting gets out of control, aka you lose sight of retail sales, that's when things start to go downhill. You add tools, it's over, right? And I know that for a long portion of our conversation, Peter, was about your history with Electrolux, and I was probably showing a little bit of my ignorance that I was actually under the impression that when you were with Electrolux, it was a multi-level structure, as in, if you sold vacuums, of course, you made a commission, but then if someone else, if you recruited somebody on your team, that you would get a portion of their sales as well, therefore multi-level. But regardless of the fact, it seems to me like the more that it gets discussed, the more that it seems that the better business model is just direct sales. You know what I mean? If there's all these issues with possibly spending too much time in recruiting or people being sold on the, being miseducated. I mean, if the goal is, hey, come work for me, you're going to sell this product and that's it. It would remove so many of the puzzle pieces, the loose ends that can lead to someone being scammed or lead to someone losing money. So I guess that's kind of an opinion of mine, but I'll leave it with that.
Yeah. Well, because I grew up in that industry, I can give you plenty of real, legitimate examples of what happened then, what happens now as well. Because even though it's been a while, the reality is a lot of those same practices are still happening today, as we kind of discussed with Amway when Scott has his Amway people on here. But we're going to run out of time. So, Scott, give out your website one more time, and then I want David to be able to say whatever he wants in closing.
Yeah, just a real quick comment. I've said before on the show, if I was king for a day, I would get rid of MLM. It would be direct sales only, because it is very troubling as far as the tendencies to recruit and not sell. But I don't expect anyone to offer me that job, king for a day, and I want to do what I think is achievable, which is holding MLM's feet to the fire for retail sales and tool scams, just like Advocare did, right? Advocare got sideways with the FTC and ended up going to direct sales instead of MLM. That's what I think most MLMs would do if the FTC was doing their job properly. They would either go out of business or they would go into direct sales and drop the MLM model. So, yeah, let me just, and David, you're more than welcome to come back, because this has been a constructive conversation, unlike some of them we had with other people in the past. And I'll just give my website real quick, and David, let you make any final comments that you want to make, and then we'll call it a night and have you back sometime. I mean, it could be as early as next Saturday if you want. It's we don't have a guest yet for next week, so it's open. And if you'd like to come back in 1 week, you're welcome to do that. So my Facebook page is where you can find the links to my 3 websites, YouTube channel, the link to this radio show, and my email, and it's facebook.com/ScottTexJohnson. That's ScottTexJohnson, all one word. David, thanks for coming on and having an intelligent conversation, and let you have the last word, and maybe we'll have you back next Saturday.
Sure, yeah. Thanks again for having me. Great conversation, and just, I guess if I was going to leave you with anything, just hope that maybe someday we can figure out a way to get Marco on the show, but I appreciate you guys' comments about him, and really I just look forward to talking more about that last point, the direct sales and the difference, and I'd love to hear Peter Mingils' comments on it, and again, I just appreciate you guys giving me the time.
Well, thank you, David. Okay, we'll catch everybody next week on Building Fortunes Radio. Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Building Fortunes Radio on buildingfortunesradio.com. Thanks for listening. Be sure to check us out every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for the designated Building Fortunes Radio segment with Peter Mingils. Be sure to check out the buildingfortunesradio.com website for our featured segments. It's been our privilege to have you listen in. At Building Fortunes Radio, we wish you the success you deserve and are willing to work for. So spread the word, tell a friend, join our newsletter, and go make a difference in your world.